Former Governor Tim Pawlenty says he's running for office again.
Pawlenty was the last Republican elected to a statewide office, and Pat Kessler has his reasons for seeking an unprecedented third term.
The former governor made his campaign announcement with a video posted to his website, promising what he called a better way forward.
My top priority will be to put those in the middle who are working hard and getting squeezed first.
Pawlenty's promising to fix health care fraud, hold drug companies accountable for opioids, and take a hard look at benefits for undocumented immigrants.
Let's stop hiding behind political correctness and make sure people getting government benefits are here legally. That's a no-brainer.
Pawlenty worked until recently as a Wall Street lobbyist in Washington, what President Trump calls the swamp. And political analyst Larry Jacobs says it opens him up to criticism as a swamp creature.
Those Trump supporters are diehard behind the president, and they see Tim Pawlenty as a renegade who tried to slash and defeat the president during the primary battle.
The Trump factor looms large after Pawlenty denounced candidate Trump as unhinged and unfit to be president after a tape surfaced of Trump making vulgar comments about women. Fellow Republicans haven't forgotten, like the current leading candidate for governor, Jeff Johnson, on Twitter.
This campaign will be a referendum on Tim Pawlenty and not about our future. That might not be fair, but it's the reality. And all the money in the world won't change that.
Pat Kessler, WCCO 4 News.
Pawlenty did not say in his video announcement whether he plans on seeking the Republican Party endorsement or whether he plans to run against fellow Republicans in a primary election, which would be next August. There are only 12 states that even allow governors to seek a third term in office, but according to the Smart Politics blog at the U of M, all 9 governors who ran for a third term since 1994 have won. Stay with WCCO for continuing coverage of Campaign 2018.
President Donald Trump wants to send up to 4,000 National Guard troops to the Mexican border. The president says they're needed to fight illegal immigration and drug smugglers until a wall is built, which the timing remains unclear. Federal law bans the military from arresting people who are illegally crossing. So the Pentagon says the troops would help the Border Patrol with surveillance and logistical support. A spokesperson says Governor Mark Dayton is closely monitoring what impact this could have on the Minnesota National Guard.
An Augsburg University English professor hopes his deportation can still serve as a teaching moment. Immigration and Customs Enforcement gave Dr. Mazinga Wanyama 90 days to leave the country yesterday. Professor and his wife came to the United States from Kenya on a student visa more than 25 years ago. He was denied asylum after his visa expired. They were hoping to get an extension, but ICE told them they are facing deportation. Wanyama said he wouldn't even fight the order if it were not for the outpouring of support.
This is really the story. This love that we are feeling, this is the story. It's not really about me, I don't think so. It's much more about how this has activated a kind of movement that I think is just slowly by slowly growing and morphing into something really big.
Around 70 people showed up with signs of support yesterday. Wanyama said he doesn't want people to think about things people are doing to him. He wants them to think about the things people are doing for him.
A reluctant hero accepts an award for stopping a stabbing spree inside a Minnesota mall. Surveillance video from 2016 shows 22-year-old Dahira Dawn in a security guard uniform entering stores inside a St. Cloud mall and stabbing people. After injuring 10 people, off-duty Avon police officer Jason Falconer shot and killed Dawn. Yesterday, U.S. Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, along with Congressman Tom Emmer, presented Falconer with the Congressional Badge of Bravery. He downplayed his role.
Actually, I kind of thought it was all said and done and over, and then we have this, so it's all good.
Falconer is the first Minnesotan to ever receive the award. Relatives of Dahira Dawn say he appeared to become increasingly radicalized before the incident. While no formal ties to terror groups have ever been proven, ISIS did claim responsibility for the attack.
The dangers of distracted driving now seem a lot more real to a group of young people northwest of the Twin Cities. Minnesota Department of Public Safety office held an interactive demonstration at Monticello High School yesterday. So students had to run down a line while trying to text people. They told us this exercise would make them think twice before texting and driving.
I didn't really know what was happening. Like, I was sending a text to my buddy, right? I'm saying something stupid, and then I just get plowed and run into like 3 other people. Very scary.
In Minnesota, texting citations climbed more than 23% last year. According to the State Patrol, distracted driving contributes to an average of 59 deaths a year. Troopers are running a campaign saying enough is enough.
The university